lots of fun yesterday. And as I already forget to unmute something. So obviously Pete being the master of switching the buttons, and we talk about it all the time and joke about poor Rick not knowing nearly the board like Pete does. Yesterday we had a little bit of issue with our Facebook and YouTube stream. Now, when you and I were talking, and Pete and Steve and Johnny and Steve, and having all the fun yesterday, audio no problem. What was not making it out for our people that listen on YouTube and Facebook was the audio from our callers, and the commercials was not playing. And although we are diligently trying to get that fixed and might have gotten it here now, that was still the issue. So as we've always said, the stream is the king in terms of keeping in touch with Let's Talk Hookup, and of course our home at 97.3 The Fan. So today we will be on The Fan, full 2 hours, full audio, full callers, all that great stuff. And as well as our Let's Talk Hookup app. That's the flawless way to listen to it until we get our YouTube and Facebook issue fixed up. If you want to watch the show, just bring the screen up and have your app playing in the background. There's a little issue with getting the audio for the phone calls and the the catch reporters and then the commercials.
Just
so
a minor hiccup.
Yeah. So anyways, my bad. Pete's gone. Obviously we all know Pete would have that mastered. So my bad, y'all. but we're gonna hang out and talk fishing for the next couple hours. That I can do. I promise you.
I think we can call it entertaining.
Yeah.
That's a little spice to the thing.
Yeah, you could imagine. Yeah, there was some microphones off issues yesterday, and some commercials not playing yesterday. So it was a long one, but still a fun one, and a great time talking with the boys about the big summer kickoff sale yesterday. And speaking of good times, man, we got a good one today. So we're waiting on Captain Jake of the Fortune. The boat was just fishing, and Carl was saying, he's probably not even back from fishing yet. So hopefully we'll have Jake come through and get a fresh report. But in the meantime, we have one of our best friends of the show and part of the Let's Talk Hookup family, and that is Captain Carl Schmidt of Fisherman's Landing. So first off, good morning, Carl.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Always say captain. Now, Carl is a captain. You've worked your whole life on sport boats, do have a captain's license, but you're more like captain of the boats coming and going and all the operations that are happening these days at Fisherman's Landing. So captain of a different ship, you're almost like more the admiral now, rather than using your license to push sticks and turn the steering wheel.
Yeah, for the most part, my job is to get these guys off the dock, build the boats up, and try to put Fisherman's Landing the best face on there as best as we can, and the voice for everyone, and trying to help everyone out as much as we can as a landing and as a group of people to promote our business and get people out fishing with all the great boats out of fishing.
Totally. Carl is like such a unique position for, at the landing, like the manager of the operations of things. And you are so unique for that position because you've done just about every job that exists at Fisherman's Landing, from pushing carts to being a crew member to being a captain to working in the tackle store. I mean, rental tackle and reservations, like you've had your hand in just about every facet that is at the landing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've done it all, and I've enjoyed my whole journey through pinheads to tackle shop to the office, reservations, rental, and really learn the whole business versus just one aspect of the business. And getting to have so many great relationships with the guys on the boats and everywhere, and the customers. Customer service is not the easiest all the time, but I really enjoy getting people on the boat and them fishing and enjoying their vacations and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And this is the time, man. This is the time that we have waited a long time for. You get through the off season and you get through all the what ifs, and I hope the fish start biting. And this was an odd year. You go back a long time. So the fish biting in April or May is still a huge bonus. You go back to bonus times where you didn't even think about tuna fishing until end of June, beginning of July. So all of this time right now we're happy with. But we're in that new cycle where if it's not, if you're not seeing it in March, you start to wonder, okay, what's going on? Is it going to be happening? And this season, it kicked off, and I'll tell a funny story. Like I know exactly when the kickoff happened. It was during our family trip to Hawaii. I woke up in the morning and I had like 3 missed phone calls from Carl and a couple from Gavin on the Queen and somebody else. And they were all at 4 a.m. Hawaii time, which is right about the time Let's Talk Hookup was going on. And I figured, well, the boys must have caught some fish yesterday because everybody needs the phone number to come talk about it. But it was crazy that this year it really kind of just light switched. You know, it was like it went from a couple of trips of nothing to boom, limits, and big ones and cows. And this was off to a great start.
On a Friday, it was nothing, maybe 1 or 2 fish there. Then Saturday, it was limits for every boat that was out there. That's like normally, like it kind of grows, you know. I was out the week before. We saw a little bluefin. We caught limits of yellowtail, you know, that kelp-sized kelp patty stuff, you know. The next weekend, all week, I mean, I think that whole week there was like 3 bluefin caught, you know, between the long range boats that were going out and stuff like that. And then Aliar and Gavin and the Tribute and the guys that were out there. I mean, we got limits. It's like, what the heck? I mean, something changed and they wanted to bite and they were chewing the paint off the bottom of the boat. You know, that 40 to 60 pound fish or 30 to 60 pound fish. Everything wanted to die there for about 10 days. Hopefully, Mother Nature is kind to us. And it's not as bad out there as what the weather guys were saying. And tomorrow, the whole fleet's going. There's about 6 or 7 boats going out again tomorrow. And they pick up right where they left off on Friday, Saturday.
But really what's beautiful about this time of the year, I mean, you can have a blow like this that, I mean, really, yesterday I said 36 hours, but I don't think it's even a 20-hour period of wind, right?
Yeah.
And calms down and things resituate nearly immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
the bounce back is fast in the summertime.
There was guys on one of the social medias like, oh, you can't go fishing after a storm and blah blah blah. It's like some of the best fishing I've seen is like right after the day after the storm. The guys that go out there and they're like, oh, we don't know, and I mean they leave at 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the morning. At 9 o'clock, oh, get the text from one of the guys. We got limits, or they're biting, they're chewing, you know, or whatever. And we see really good sign and wake up in the morning and like ding 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 ding, and it's like, all right, yeah, it's still there. It didn't move at all, you know.
So how has the season, gotten rolling? Has it been a repeat of similar things in terms of the size of fish? And we were seeing some real big ones at the very beginning there, and still are, I'm sure. I mean, has it been a jig fishing thing? What's been the grade of the fish? And you kind of keep your pulse on things. Like, how have you been setting guys up in terms of when they're getting their gear at nighttime? And what's been the general rundown of the season thus far?
This season kind of picked up right where it left off last season at the end there. All jig fishing, mostly at night. You do find some of these daytime, like slow plunkers, 1 or 2 fish going there for 3 or 4 hours, and those seem to be the bigger ones during the day, that 80 to 130 pound fish, either on a sinker rig or someone dropping back a dead flyer or something like that, or fishing a big mackerel. It's nothing wide open, but something. It's nice to see some yellowtail on the kelp patties this early in the season. But it's 90% or 95% nighttime fishing on your tuna bombs or your eddy bombs, whatever you want to call them. The tungsten jigs have been working well. I know some of the bigger fish have been on the rip rollers again this year. I know talking to Sam, he had 4 or 5 fish, those bigger fish, all on the those 400-gram rip rollers.
Okay, big jigs.
The big jigs for the bigger ones, but just I wouldn't say there's a standout jig quite yet for the year, but we picked up right where we left off last year.
That's awesome, and
it's nice to see those yellowtail during the daytime fishing. Give some guys a reason to stay up and looking ready to go for some action.
This is fun too when there's a lot of 40 to 80 pound fish around, which it seems to be the case right now, but then also schools of those real big ones. I mean, obviously there's the stories of triumph, but there's also the fun stories of guy getting his absolute butt kicked. And, I figured the fish were 40 pounders and I didn't really want to use my big rig because it's heavy. So I was jigging with something a little smaller, and then I hooked one and I never got to turn the handle. And, there's the stories of getting blown out right now too that are pretty fun.
Yeah, I tell people call it, what should I be fishing at night? Heaviest gear you can get away with. But most of the fish are 40 to 60 pounds, Yeah, but there's that 250 pounder out there. You want to be prepared. You want the right gear for the right fish. You hook one of those big fish, the chances of landing them are slim to none. Better to be powered on stuff or whatever versus under gun, you know.
Have some extra.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I read it, but somebody a long time ago, that was one of my favorite long range sayings. Like, I've never seen a guy hooked up to a big fish and wish that he had it on a smaller reel. You know, sometimes when you're standing at the rail, fly line, and the bait, you wish you had that little tranks in your hand. But sometimes it's nice to have the talico when you're attached to a big one. So one thing that I overhear being in the tackle store all the time and hearing you guys busy over on the reservation side is seems like the busy time of year when everybody's really trying to get their charters booked, or they forgot about it in the off season and all of a sudden bluefin are biting. And it's just amazing that you're going fishing, you got your construction company, you want to take all your boys out fishing, you want to get your subs out there. And we just never seem to think about it until the light bulb goes off and the fish are biting. But it's crazy on my side hearing how busy you are. What's the rundown of the charter season like? How are the boats? Is there time? Are you already screwed? How does the overlook feel for you on that side with the charter fishing?
Plenty of weekends would be tough, but there are plenty of boats like Jake on the Fortune. He's got lots of room for August and September. I don't know about weekends off the top of my head, but plenty of opportunity on the Fortune. The great thing about his boat, it's kind of a smaller boat, but it packs like kind of a big boat feel to it.
Yeah.
It holds a lot of bait.
Totally agree.
Big fish holds, it's just it's a small boat that can really do a 3-day trip really comfortably, or a 2.5-day trip. And it's one of those boats that you can still take 18 or 20 guys on a 3-day trip, compared to some of the other smaller boats. And that's the nice thing about his boat. But there's plenty of opportunity for like the bigger boats, also the Tomahawk and stuff like that. And plenty open reservations. Guys wait always to, like the old saying is like, don't wait for the fish to start biting to make your reservation, because you're going to miss the bite. And like now everyone sees the fish are biting and like, I want to do a 3-day trip on whatever boat. Well, the 3-day trips and the 2.5-day trips the last couple of years have been super popular. Those are starting to fill up really fast. Like, oh man, like I don't know what to do now. It's like, well, just go fishing. Like that's my whole thing. Just go fishing, enjoy the time on the water. The Pacific Ocean, you never know what you're going to run into. It's beautiful out there and stuff. So go fishing and have a good time. And if you go 10 times, probably 7 out of those 10 times you're going to catch fish.
The one thing you can be sure of when you're doing a trip at a Fisherman's Landing, especially one of the boats that are near and dear to your heart, like the service is going to be fantastic. Yeah. The food is going to be great. The crew is going to be top notch. Like you're going to have an awesome trip. And let's be real, man. This season is off to a great start. Yeah. Like there's very few things out of control. Weather might be one of them and fish might be another. But yeah, I'm with you. Just go when the time is appropriate for you and enjoy it. And it sounds so cliche to say, but man, it is the truth. Like you go and enjoy what it throws at you. And more often than not, what it throws at you is a couple of big bluefins.
Yeah. And enjoy the time on the boat and meet some new friends, have a beer or Coke or whatever your fancy is, and get to meet some new people and enjoy the time. And this early spring, early summer, there's lots of room on most of the boats still, because people have been waiting to see what's going to happen with the season. It's here. I mean, and it's the fish are biting. I mean, it's been 10 days or 2 weeks now of straight good bluefin tuna fishing with some yellowtail mixed in.
I love it, man.
I know the yellows on the kelps. I mean, that's kind of it didn't happen last year, really.
It was like 3 or 4 years.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of nice to see that, and even the yellows at the island.
Ooh, man, there's been some beautiful fish at the Coronado Islands. And, reading the report from Booger and Brawley yesterday, sounds like there was no shortage of seeing fish and lots of opportunity to cast at it. But as it often does in the beginning of the season, it wasn't ready to go full speed. But boy, it sounded like your visual and opportunity was amazing. And then the ones that did let their guard down were all really nice grade.
And I bet in the next day or two after this wind comes
down,
those islands are going to bite, I bet, in the next 3 to 5 days.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
The other cool thing that I want to talk about, I saw, just on social media, Captain Nano from the Dolphin yesterday. There is like some very good sneaker calico bass fishing going on the half-day boat. Cory, it's in your backyard in the area that I know you love the best. And so Danny Wade came by the shop yesterday and just saying like, man, it's going to go today. It's going to go tomorrow. He just got off the water, calico bass fishing. Cory, let me see if this condition tickles your fancy. He was fishing outside the kelp line around Green Take and Point Loma. 64.4 degrees, ripping down an in current, and beautiful, beautiful blue water.
Oh man.
And
That's that right there.
And tanks a big cho for the sport boat to get things sprinkled around and going a little bit. I mean, it gets no better.
I'm fired up. I mean, we when we have cool winters, water temps 55, 56, it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
58 degrees and it starts to happen. 60,
Sure.
62, and
Yeah.
you better hold on.
It was funny. Last week, Jason was in from the Dolphin. He's like, 3 days from now, that water's starting to clean up. It's starting to tick up.
Yeah.
And we drove by the kelp line and threw some bait. Those bass reacted to the bait and it's flipping and flopping and doing its thing. And yeah, 2 days later, the afternoon, they had 25 legals and 50 shorts, and 100 short barracuda mixed in. And the guys hooked 2 or 3 yellowtail and lost them and stuff. And he's like, yeah,
that's good.
It's happening.
Yeah.
We dig it.
You know what's even more happening? We just had the man's.
Yeah. What's up, Captain Jake?
How's it going?
Good, buddy.
Yeah,
Well,
good to see you.
we're stoked to have you, and
Fresh off the boat, literally.
yeah, not much fresher info than having Captain Jake, and man, we're certainly pumped to have you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's been off to an early start in terms of fishing goes, but glad to have you in here and lots for us to talk about. We're going to be talking fortune, all the great stuff you've been doing with the boat, recent fishing trips. But Cory, we just got a great show coming for you today.
We do. Yeah, we're stoked to have him in the studio and good to go. And you want to join us? We're going to give away a trip on the Fortune. Now, is that going to be an overnight, a day and a half? If they did an overnight, they could upgrade to a day and a half.
Yeah.
They wanted to, and I think that's the way we should do it.
Yeah.
So,
Love it.
an overnight trip, any open party trip that's available through Fisherman's Landing.
Yeah.
So it'll be an open party overnight trip. And if you want to upgrade that to the day and a half or whatever you have on the books as an open party trip.
Say Carl will be real nice.
Yeah. Carl's the man. And Jake, stoked to have you in studio. You want to join us? 2 ways to do it. We're going to be on the fan for a full 2 hours this morning. Jeff's waiting for your call. You can give him a shout now. 833-288-0973. That's the phone of the fan there. Jeff's waiting for your call. Or you can text us via the app. And as Rick mentioned earlier, you want the full experience. You can listen to us on the radio this morning or the app. And you'll have the callers. I know there were issues with YouTube and Facebook Live. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook Live and you missed the beginning of the show, tune into the app or just 97.3 The Fan. We're going to be right back with Jake from the Fortune when we return on the Let's Talk Hookup app. 97.3 The Fan, YouTube and Facebook Live. And just that Jake's in studio and we're having a fun time and talking fortune, Fisherman's Landing, and the good bite happened.
Yeah, damn right, man. Well, Jake, we're stoked to have you join us. It's been a steady start to the season, and obviously we're all a little bummed with this little Mother Nature through us, kept us tied to the dock for a day though. But I'm stoked to have you in here, and you've started this season on a cool run, and a run that's almost like been the forgotten trip. It's been the most affordable for your passengers, and you've been on the Bluefin, and Fortune's doing, correct me if I'm wrong, you're calling it reverse overnight.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
We leave at noon, fishing by 8 o'clock, nighttime. Fish all night till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, depending on how far they are. And then as the night goes on, we just start coming in,
That's perfect.
Yeah, back by 9 or 10 in the morning.
It's kind of one of the things we were talking about yesterday. You're just maximizing effective fishing time for the passengers.
Yeah.
Not the easiest trip for you and your crew to run, and keeping you up in a lot of the day, but in terms of bang for the buck for the fishermen, I mean, that's it. You're just going. Fish are well within your range, especially leaving as early as you are.
Yeah. Well, the daytime fishing lately has not been.
That's the thing.
Not been anything at all. So
yeah,
it's all been nighttime. Everything.
Maximize your fishing time, and because of that, you're able to offer a very affordable trip too. I mean, it's easy on the pocketbook. It's a great way to get out there, and trips have already been seeing success. I know you were out last week, caught them again, so. It's a really cool trip that you're offering. And are those open parties? I mean, I know that Fortune, we talked about it before, very popular as a charter boat, but this is just an open party trip, yeah?
Yeah. These are all open party trips just to kick our season off.
I love it.
Get blood flowing,
Yeah, make sure all your systems are running right on the boat. And how was the off season? Did you have a big year this year in terms of boat work? Or I know when we talked to you last time, you had a lot that you had done before. So did you get to have an easier off season because of all the work you put into the boat previous, or was this a heavy one?
It was easier, but it was also pretty heavy at the same time. We had to do our egress stuff and just the stuff Coast Guard wanted us to do.
Okay.
The previous year, all the new regulations and stuff. We needed to make a new escape hatch in the bow and a lot of fiberglass work there.
A lot of safety stuff.
Yeah, a lot of safety stuff.
Okay, cool. Now, Carl kind of gave us a little bit of rundown before we were having you join us, but give us a little rundown on the Fortune. Tell us about it. Carl was bragging about how well the boat fishes and how big it fishes and is capable of doing multi-day trips, but kind of give us a rundown of what she's like and the trips you like running, and just tell us about your girl.
I like running the longer trips, really, the 2.5, 3 days, 3.5. Those trips are really the bread and butter right there, where you get the time to go out there and put something together, like
totally
some real hits,
Yeah.
style hits.
You get on them, you stay on them, you know what the fish are doing.
Yeah.
If it's a morning thing, you have multiple mornings to do it. If it's an evening thing, you got time to get yourself into position to take advantage of it. You're not in a rush.
Yeah, you're not in a rush. You get out there, you figure out what they're doing, where they're going, stay on top of them, just like you said. And then the boat itself, it's a big little boat.
Exactly what Carl was saying.
Yeah.
It really is, right?
It's a big little boat coming from the long range industry and all that stuff. I was worried about going to a smaller boat, and it's proven me wrong.
Yeah.
In that way.
And you guys take, by design, a pretty, again, you came from a long range background, and that's how the Fortune is run. It's like a little bit, you by design take a reduced passenger load. You like lesser people. Like the boat could fish more, but that's not what you guys do on the Fortune.
Yeah, exactly. Like on our 3-day trips, we take 15, and then
2
days,
days, so nice.
we
My
take
God.
18. So keep the load lighter. Helps with everybody, helps
Yeah.
with tangles, all that stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we're excited to hear about it. And how about charters? Again, Carl touched on it a little bit, but it sounds like it's been a busy year, but there's still opportunity, still time. Carl talked about how successful the boat had been going, but there's still opportunities to get on the boat, both in the open party and the charter setting. How's the books looking in terms of charters for this year?
The later months are pretty full so far, but any open party trip that you guys see or want to charter, it's open. So
Yeah.
let the landing know, and we'll make
it
charter.
happen. I love it, man.
It's
Cool.
perfect. I mean, not everybody has 28 guys, right?
Yeah.
But the perfect 12 to 15.
That's what's so attractive about the boat. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need to come up with a huge group to make a charter happen. You're not trying to track down, 30 guys where their phone numbers, their deposits. When you're the charter master, you can book that boat and get it done. I love it. It's one of my most favorite boats, and it's so fishy. you know, it's had a great history of operators, and it's just always been on the fish. And it's really cool to see Jake take that thing and really run with it.
Yeah, and it rides really well in the weather. You know, it's a Kelly hull, fiberglass heavy. It's made to fish the Pacific Northwest. So when there is a little weather, you're going to be pretty darn comfortable on that boat. You know, plenty of room up and down the rail on the boat and stuff like that. So if you got 10 guys, 12 guys, like the Fortune is like a perfect boat for you. You don't need to fork over $10,000-$12,000 a day to charter a boat. You know, you don't have to come, like Rick was saying, up with like 30 guys and stuff. You got 12 of your best friends. You can easily get on the boat. It's very comfortable, good food, plenty of bait, plenty of fish hold room on the boat and stuff like that. So it's a good operation.
Yeah, straight up, man. Well, I dig it. Well, the phones are packed up. Everybody's excited again. Not only is it going to be your opportunity to talk to Jake, talk to Carl about this great fishing we got going on, talk about the Fortune, we have also got a fantastic prize. Just like Cory mentioned, one lucky caller or texter to the show is going to go fishing on an overnight trip. They're going to be able to jump on board the Fortune, get in on this great fishing, a really, really cool prize for one lucky caller. And a big thanks to Jake and Carl for making that happen for us, man. That's awesome. Somebody's going to get to go fishing. Well, Cory, why don't we jump into the phones?
Let's do it. How about John? John Cohn from San Diego. Good morning, John.
What's up, John?
I would say it's not personnel, not mechanical. It's mostly just getting out and running constantly. You know, that's part of the biggest challenge. The later months are really good, but starting off, it's a little tough. That's why we're offering these reverse overnight trips, just to get out and get going. You know, get the blood flowing, get everything working,
Getting the run started.
Yeah, getting the run started. The name out there.
Yeah. And you've taken over a fantastic boat, and it has had a great reputation. You have earned yourself a really good reputation within our industry, but it's the beginning of the season, and it's everybody doing the same thing. And, you know, Jake's got a great boat and a great history, but like you said, you're also competing for those same early trips with guys that have been on the same run for 40 years and developed a 40-year relationship. So.
Yeah, exactly. About getting my new name out there, you know, and getting the boat out there again.
Yeah. What you have leg up wise is Jake gets them, and you've just got a knack for catching bluefin, and everybody that stepped off the boat has just been rave reviews on your customer service. So you got a pretty solid leg up on some of those guys. You're doing it right.
Thank you.
And coming from a long range background, I mean, the whole experience for the angler is really a step above like most operations, right?
Yeah.
So
we go on personality. You gotta be personal with the people. That's all how it goes.
And for those that don't know, what boat?
Yeah, what was your background like, Jake? What did you do before the days on the Fortune?
Well, I was on the Star for the last 5-7 years, whatever it was. Time flies, you know. And then the Apollo before that, I was on the mountain for 5 years, going down fishing Puerto Vallarta, catching the big ones, you know, coming back up, fishing the winters up, or the early summers up here.
Yeah. And how much has this fishery, that you're in now changed, or is this what, this nighttime sonar fishing? I mean, you kind of cut your teeth in it, I feel like in terms of you driving the boat and, and that kind of thing, like this has been the deal, for the last 10 years of your career. This has kind of been our style of fishing.
Yeah, exactly. Before that, we'd go out there and we'd fish all day and drift all night, when I was a kid. And then we figured them out. We figured out you can catch them at night.
How crazy is that?
Really fun.
I've mentioned it on air so many darn times. Like, I mean, Rick's almost of my age, and Carl, you're my age. Yeah. How many decades did we spend? And Jake's younger, obviously, but how many decades did we spend?
Yeah.
Running over fish that was fishable.
Yeah, and we just like, oh well, we'll catch those things tomorrow morning.
They were numbers on a notepad for the morning time. Yeah, we saw fish here, a really good school there, a really good one over here too.
Numbers on, we saw fish here, good sign here, whatever on a notepad.
Yeah.
We're stop the boat and like, all right, we'll start here in the morning, and pick up right there. And I was like, no one ever stopped and
drop the jig.
Once we had Dorado at night or something like that, but
lights.
Yeah, you never took a jig and dropped it down there to catch a fish.
That time was for sleeping.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we had a fun text. It says, "Good morning, guys. There's well, first off, he was giving me some credit, and thanks for Rory. So, man, there's a whole lot of switches over there. You can see it on the board. Yeah, Rick's in charge of all this stuff now, and I like it a whole lot better when I'm sitting in Cory's chair and Pete's running this. You're having fun. Says one, I wanted to say a big thanks to the guys in the landing office, Carl and all the boys in the ticket shop, having their pulse on what's going on the water. They always make you feel comfortable when you go down there. I want to say a big thing. That's a big thanks to guys like Jake. You know, I in the tackle store have an unfair advantage because every time a guy like Jake comes through, we always get to hit him up, man. What's been the deal? What was the hot jig? What was the hot setup? What was the deal? So thank you for the compliment for the boys knowing what's going on in the tackle store. But most of it is because the guys sitting across from us, like Carl and Jake. So getting to Rory's question, he says, what has been the hot jig thus far this season? And can Captain Jake give us a rundown of his favorite nighttime jigging setup?
Okay. I like the jigging rods personally myself. The heavier, stiffer ones. You don't want the little light, flimsy ones.
So you're not talking about a rail rod that you fish a jig with. You're talking about the true vertical style jigging rods.
Yeah, the true vertical style jigging rods with any 2-speed reel that can handle a big fish if
Okay.
you can get one on there.
And that's something that's different too, because like the super nichey jigging reels, most of them are a single speed, like a mid gear ratio, very torquey, you know, a lot of power, but still a single speed.
Yeah, like the Avid JX reels, those are pretty good. They're big, so you get a lot of gear retrieval on them. You get a lot of retrieve speed on them, and then you also have your 2-speed option there as well. So.
See that I really like hearing from a guy like Jake, because you are, again, with all your long range and big fish background, you are intimately comfortable and familiar with true rail rod big fish tackle. You've dealt with thousands of big ones on rail rods and big 2-speeds. And with that said, you still prefer that heavy jigging style rod for your nighttime jigging setup. Like you've done plenty of both, is what I'm getting at. Okay.
You know, once you get over 200 pounds, you need the rail rod. You need the 50, 30 wides.
Yeah.
You know, you need those big reels. But
now, what is it about the jigging rod? Is it more the action that it provides the jig, and thus you're getting bit better, or just the comfort of fishing a rod and reel that weighs a whole lot less? Is it the power that you produce when you're just pulling on them? What is it about that you prefer over the heavier outfit?
It's a combo of all that, I would say. Okay. And then also, like the smaller reel, you can let your jig fly faster. That's the true key to night fishing. Is like you want almost no tension on the spool when you're dropping your jig. So it's just flying.
Speed of getting down.
Go. Yeah, and then that's when the jig works the best. That's when it starts fluttering. That's when it starts going down, you know. And then all of a sudden you feel it stop. Or you
Game
feel
on.
a dunk, and then you throw it in gear, and there you go. You know?
Have you ever seen, Jake, those jigging rods? I mean, I'm curious because I love that style of fishing, but I have yet to partake in larger bluefin, you know, that style. But rockfish, calico, yellows, you know, I love that style, right? Yeah. But have you ever seen anybody like undermatched? I mean, have you ever seen an individual like hooked up and like, oh my God, this guy's like.
That's what I'm saying. You want the heavy. Those light little flimsy ones that are for small jigs, small fish, just like you guys are saying. But then you get the rods as well.
Yeah.
You want the heaviest one you can find, typically.
But then there's the Brian Wynn, right?
Sure.
That knows what the heck he's doing, and he's a jigging expert, and he could probably do some damage to a 200-pounder, right?
Yeah. That's caught a 160-pounder last year in like 3 minutes. Crazy tougher gap in it.
That's what I wanted. That's the story that I wanted. And yes, congratulations, you wound that thing in fast. I want the story of the poor guy whose job it was to try and make that thing go on board the boat.
Yeah, that's their problem.
Right back. You're listening to Jake Fortune, and we're on the Let's Talk Hookup app, the 97.3 The Fan, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Good morning. Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. We just heard the ad for the CCA there for the Beacon Award, Pete Gray.
Yeah,
Right?
it's gonna be
cool.
Gonna be very fun coming up on the
Yeah.
17th at Marina Village, the Apps and Taps event from CCA.
2018.
Yep, and a Beacon Award being honored to Pete Gray, and it's good that we get control of the microphones because he's like way too humble to say anything about it. But man, couldn't be going to a better dude, and it's going to be a great night. Having fun. And Apps and Taps is a very fun event. Last year, that award was given to Frank Lopresti, and we were all there and got to go and hear everybody talking about him and having some killer foods, lots of small bites. Jeff from Sushi on a Roll is going to be there, and yeah, just good food, good drink, good times, talking some fun, and
I think there should be a little roasting going on.
say, give me a microphone. Look out, man! I'm on it. Well, we're having a great time here this morning, talking fun and talking fishing. And if you want to join us, man, Cory said it best. Give us a call on the fan. Jeff is standing by, 833-288-0973, or keep those texts rolling in. Lots of really good texts come through on that Let's Talk Hookup app.
And we're giving away a full day trip or overnight trip on the Fortune.
Yeah.
You can upgrade that with any open party trip available, like whatever you want to do. Will you have 2.5 days, like that kind of open party? So they could take that overnight trip and upgrade it to whatever they want.
Yeah.
How about
It's
that?
awesome.
That's kind of cool. One
It's
lucky winner.
Really cool, Jake.
Yeah, super. You got
I do. Speaking of overnights, I thought it was a good time to read. It says, "Good morning, boys. Great job." Oh, sorry. Great job running the show, Ricky. I did not mean to read that part. My question was for Captain Jake. I've never fished a reverse overnight trip and noticed the Fortune has several of them coming up. My question is departure and return times, which we mentioned yesterday, but we can go over again. But also, how do the DFW limits apply to these trips? And do catch limits reset for anglers at midnight? How does that all work? Ralph and Menifee.
Really?
Thanks, Ralph.
Questions.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it doesn't reset. It's a 1-day trip, so you're allowed 1-day limits, 2 fish per person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you and one more time, how does the departure and return times work on those, Jake?
So we leave at noon, and then our scheduled time to be back is 8 o'clock, but we've been going far lately, so to give us ample fishing time till about 3 in the morning, 2:30, 3 in the morning, we're getting back at 9 or 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Get that whole nighttime thing in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 12 o'clock departure gives us that little bit of leeway to come in a little later.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it gives you time to get the boat redone, reset, scrubbed up, ready for the next round.
Yeah.
I dig it, man. I think that's such a cool trip. Hey, appreciate the text, Ralph, very much. Cory, time to find out what's going on the water.
Yeah, we've got the man Brian Woolley, Mr. Woolley on hold here. We're gonna hear what's happening up there at Dana Point. We're gonna find out. I told him the calicos probably biting the surface. See what happens, but is by Gamakatsu. And if you're fishing like to fish for tuna, you're not using Gamakatsu hooks, you're missing bites. The Nautilus Circle Hook comes in sizes as small as a number 4 and up to a 6/0. And for big fish, the Nautilus HD is tough enough, but not oversized. Both come with a ring or no ring. See your local dealer or check gamakatsu.com. And good morning, Mr. Woolley.
Hey, Woolley. All good. Yeah.
It's like hanging in
it. Good enough in terms of board operation goes.
Rick's doing an awesome job. Yeah.
Brad. That's great. Yeah, absolutely. I love it, man. We'll ride this little bit of weather out today, get right back to catching, and sounds like things are off to a great start. Willie, appreciate a great report as always, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Willie. Appreciate that very much, and hopefully we'll hear from our surf guru soon. Do want to take another time to mention for those that didn't catch us at the very beginning of the show, we do have a little technical issue going on, and it is with the audio just on the Facebook and YouTube live stream. Obviously, you can hear everything that Jake and Carl and Cory and I are saying, but no audio from the phone callers or the commercial spots. So highly encourage you to listen on the app. If you do want to watch the live cam and see Jake's beautiful face sitting here this morning, you can do that. But in terms of audio, just fire the app off. I think that would be the way to do it. If you wanted to watch the show, just listen on the Let's Talk Hookup app. All of the audio, all on there. But just this weekend, until we get that figured out, no caller and no commercial on the Facebook or the YouTube stream. Everything is available on the fan, and everything is available on the app.
Pete's got his work cut out, man.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he doesn't worry about that at all and just worries about catching some big Montana trout.
I know.
In the meantime, while we're waiting for our surf guru, Cory, why don't we jump back into the phones?
Let's do that. How about Baja Ben from Chula Vista? Good morning, Ben.
What's up, Ben?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing good.
I'd say
Great
it's
question.
communication and following their lines still. You know, like once they have a fish on, your experienced angler should know to start going up the rail when the fish is going up, you know, and then helping the guys that don't know so much, like communicating with them. You got to go under, you know, you got to go over me. And also that's where the crew does come in there fully. But I'd say that's pretty much the biggest thing there is they still don't always know to follow their fish.
I think you said it best. Communication is the best thing you could have said. And as a guy gets a little more savvy, you start to worry a little bit less about not following your line. That becomes routine, and you start to observe what your fellow passengers are doing. And if a guy's brand new to it, he's got tunnel vision, he's got a big bluefin on. Nobody blames that guy for not being perfect. But if you've been at the rail a bunch of times, Ben, you might look down and see where he is, and you know what move he has to make, and the guy next to you, and so you can just as easily be Jake and just say, hey, hey Carl, I'm going to be coming under you. Hey Carl, you're over me. Why don't you just step over the top? And if you can be that savvy guy that helps everybody else out, that makes the whole click better.
You take a chaotic moment and
Yeah.
actually make it manageable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds simple, but for a lot it's difficult.
Like the very beginning, you don't know where you are, and then as you become a little more advanced, okay, you figure out exactly where you're at, and then when you really got a good handle of it, you figure where you're at and the guy next to you is at. You know,
That's a great question from Baja Ben.
Yeah, I dig it. Hey, well, we had another great text come through. It says, good morning, everybody. My question is for Jake. It's a lot, so get ready. No, all good. Jake, what's the maximum of number of people you can take on a charter? Also, what's the minimum load that you like to take? Can I bring a drone with me to film? And last but not least, what is your favorite fish to catch and the biggest bluefin on the Fortune so far?
All right, so where are we starting here?
So we're starting with loads. What's the max that you like to take on a charter? What's the minimum that you like to take on a charter?
The max we can take is like around 20.
Okay.
Okay. And then the minimum is 10, 12. It's just if you want to charter the boat, it doesn't matter if
Your
it's
boat.
4 of you or 4
Yeah.
or 15 of you, you know?
Yeah.
But,
And if you have your group, I mean, if you've got 10 guys that want to go, and you're a construction crew or whatever you're doing. If you want to take care of clients and whatever we have going on, you want to be 10 to 12 guys. So that's a perfect.
You're providing full crew no matter what.
No
You
matter
know, I mean,
what.
if the guy, if it's 6 buds that want to charter the Fortune, getting some one-on-one experience. Like,
I over the last 10 years being in reservations, it's been a dozen times where I've seen 2 people show up on a charter. You know, it's just me and my son, or me and my daughter, or 2 or 3 best buds go. I'm like, just 3 of you?
That's so
That's
cool.
all we want.
That's so
All right,
cool.
You're paying for the boat, so you can bring as many people as you want,
Yeah.
or as little people as you want.
And that's the experience they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then with the drone thing, yeah, you can bring a drone, but if it flies away or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
you can't hit return to home out there because the boat's always drifting. You know, the wind is up, you're not gonna be able to fly it. But yeah, if it's good weather, good everything, of course you can fly a drone. There's no problem with that.
Operate at your own risk.
Yeah.
That's cool. But certainly some really cool footage of seeing guys do that. And I'm sure, especially your time on the Star and on the Fortune too, I'm sure guys making some unreal footage. I can only imagine, you know, foamer fishing and just times when it's you guys are on the ropes and everybody's got one going, the angles from up above, like that's got to be super cool.
It hasn't happened yet, but like when we're on a sick kite bite, I want a drone shot of
Oh my God.
right over the bait, you know.
Totally. Now, what about on a personal side? What is your what's your favorite thing? How about a double up on John's question? What's your favorite thing to fish for as just Jake, and then your favorite thing to run the boat for?
My favorite thing to fish for, well, I like bass fishing at the lake, you know, but also I'd say bluefin.
Okay.
Bluefin are one of my big bluefin, big bluefin, big yellowfin, anything big. I really like using the kite.
I was just going to ask you that. All things combined, how are you catching a big one? Is it a plunker rig? Is it a kite blow up on a flyer?
Yeah.
No doubt.
Either the backpack flyer worked really good, or if we have a bunch of, we just made some flyers and we saved some live, those fly line, the live ones.
Now, talk about that a little bit. Carl mentioned that, you know, that there has been a little increase in just guys bringing and fishing some flyers, like dropping back a flyer just on a sinker type rig, backpack rigs like you're talking about. Are you starting to see guys not in a kite scenario, but just fishing a dead flying fish?
Yeah, and it works good too because you're on the other side of the boat. You know, the kite's all downwind and everything. With that backpack rig where you put the little piece of foam on its back, there's a special way you do it to get it to float just right. You know, and you don't want the foam wider than the flying fish either. You want the foam to where they can't see the foam when they're looking up at it.
And similar hook rig that you would on the kite? Is it lesser? Is it a single hook? Do you still like the single and the treble?
Either a big J or a big circle hook through its nose.
That sounds crazy,
right?
Yeah. I mean, you sell them
out there and just start giving it line.
Totally.
I mean, you got my attention on that one. Yeah,
cool.
Guys buy them in the shop, take out on the trips, right? I
mean, they do. I mean, you know, as we know, flying fish are not an inexpensive bait, you know, and I would make sure that you talk to your captain and crew before you go hand. The last thing we always recommend that in the shop. Like the last thing we want is for guys to be buying a $20 bait or a $30 bait, and then, you know, get in the boat and the crew's like, dude, what are you doing? We're not doing this. But again,
Jake invites it, right?
Well, Jake's got that small group, big fish specialties. That's what they do.
Man, that's some good stuff. Got my attention. We're going to be right back. We have a full another hour with Jake from the Fortune with us, and we're going to be right back on 97.3 The Fan, YouTube, Facebook Live, and the Let's Talk Hookup app.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Let's Talk Hookup coming your way on the Let's Talk Hookup app on Facebook and YouTube Live and 97.3 The Fan. Jeff standing by, having a great morning, and sure appreciate Jeff taking such good care of us on the fan side of things. Man, we're having a great show this morning. We got Captain Jake from the Fortune in the studio, along with Carl Schmidt from Fisherman's Landing. We're talking bluefin, talking offshore, inshore fishing. Just been a great show. Lots going on, and we got another full hour of it here, Cory.
We do, and giving away an overnight trip on the Fortune, and how cool is that? And whatever way you want to use it, if it's an overnight trip, whatever open party trips available, 2.5 day, 2-day. And we were just talking about there's actually some. Are they 2-day trips on the weekend coming up?
Yeah.
So for the month of May,
Yeah.
leaving Friday
Morning.
Friday departure, 2 days.
Yep.
and super light loads, but with a couple more they'll run, right?
Yeah.
There it is.
That's the thing too. This time of year is like you said it at the very beginning. The best are those multi-day trips. You get multiple shots at them. You've got the time. If you need to run, you can run. If you need to sit on them, you can. And you get the lay of the land. Like that 2-day trip is such the ideal trip this time of year, and especially these ones that Jake you got going on. You said all of them, Carl. We're saying all of them have some reservation. I mean, very, very typical of early season. Right. They need a few to go, but all of them are in that, like, just a couple of, it literally is going to take
2 or 3 more guys.
Yeah, it takes a couple of guys, and boom, now all of a sudden you're on a trip that's got an extremely light load. Yeah. That's a 2-day over a weekend.
Right. Be a perfect opportunity if those big bluefin are around, you want to try that flying fish with a floating backpack on it or whatever. The light loads are perfect to fish those things, if you want to try it. But yeah, a couple more people. The next starting the 16th, I think I said a couple more people. We'll make those trips a go.
I dig it, man. I'm in. Cool, right? I'm in for sure. Yeah.
From your trip to a 2-day, and away you go.
There it is.
All right.
Hey, with that said, we're going to continue on with our catch report. We got the man, the surf guru, Gundy Gunderson, is on the line right now. What up, Gundy? Yo, Gundy. We got you there? It looks like we might have lost Gundy, but we'll see if we can't get him back here. In the meantime, plenty going on, plenty busy. And if you want to get through this morning, give us a call on the phones. You want to participate, 833-288-0973. Again, 833-288-0973 is how you reach us on the fan. One more time, we'll see if we can't grab Gundy and get him up there. We got you there, Gundy? All right. Well, it looks like that might be part of our issue with the no audio from phone calls, but plenty of phone calls on this end. So why don't we jump back into those, Cory?
Let's do that. Call from Escondido. Good morning, Carl.
What's up, Carl?
So I like to try you need like a 200 to 300 pound bite leader is what we call them, that are about 3 or 4 feet long, 2-3 feet long. It depends how long your rod is, because you don't want the jig. You want to be able to hang your jig back on the rod for real, But I tie the Spectra straight to that is how I like to fish it. It's less drag going down,
And then the rod you were talking about earlier, that heavier jigging rod.
Yeah, like there's some from 310 Rod Works and UC that makes some small ones that are stiff and good. Phoenix has a couple, those Megalodons that are like that. Just go to the tackle shop and ask them. They'll have some in there usually.
They're one of those things you're starting to see factory wrapped versions of them a little more now. At the beginning of this cycle of those things coming into favor, they were only available in blanks. And Jake, I think you said it best. Several manufacturers that make nice ones, heavy ones, like you're talking about, where we would take the blank and then wrap them, into a complete factory style rod. But there's a half a dozen, and I think you said it best. Go into a tackle store, get with one of the guys, and explain what you're trying to do. You again, like Jake's, sounds like Jake's recommendation is you're looking for a rod to kill the fish more than anything else. And those rods have kind of everything. You can get a rod that's much softer, that's really designed to get a ton of action out of the lure.
Yeah.
And then there's heavier ones that get plenty great action, but also don't kill you when you're attached to a big one, and everything in between.
Yeah.
And the guy behind the counter should be able to walk you into whatever the right rig is that you're after.
Yes, exactly.
But and in terms of Jake's go heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go heavy.
go heavy.
Go heavy if you want it for tuna.
Yeah, I like that. Good call, Way. Appreciate it very much. We had another great text come through. Good morning, guys. Great show. Jake, can you give us a rundown of what the bunk situation is like on the Fortune? I'm a bigger guy and appreciate a bigger bunk. If we're booking on an open party trip, is there any opportunity for us to book our bunk ahead of time? That's from Derek in Lake Elsinore.
No, we do the bunks first come, first serve, like that. Just out of
fairness to everybody
fairness
that's jumping
to
out.
everybody, exactly. But the bottom outside bunks are big. They're like almost as twin size bed big, you know. But so the bottom outsides are all like that. There's 2 staterooms up forward.
Okay.
Guys that come together or whatever, you know. So 2 different staterooms up there, and then all the other bunks are standard bunks. They're a little bit bigger than your average bunk on some boats. You know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if Derek wants one of those big double outside ones, just come a little early, check in, get your bunk, roll down to Point Loma Seafoods, get a squid sandwich and a cold one, and hang out and enjoy. But yeah, first come, first serve. So if you got a particular one you love, get there early, get it done.
Yeah.
I dig it. Why don't we jump back into those phones, Cory?
Let's do that. How about Matt? Matt called from Camarillo. Good morning, Matt.
What's up, Matt?
Good morning, Matt.
Well, we can fit about 12 or 15 people inside the galley, and the meal packages we offer are 2-day trips, usually $90.
Yeah, then the 2.5-day trips and 3-day trips are included.
Yeah, 2.5 and 3-day trips, the meals are included, and then that's just your standard breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack in between lunch and dinner there. And he'll put some fruit and stuff out in the morning, and that's
it.
Food
Yeah,
situation,
perfect.
yeah.
And Jake, you coming from the Royal Star and that kind of a background, I'm sure the food scene is
Yeah.
right up that long
my
range
cook,
style.
Kevin, he does a good job.
Yeah,
It's always different too. He's not cooking the same thing every day, you know. So
it's awesome to see, right?
Yeah, totally. How about we jump right back into those phones? Cory, again, if you want to get your shot, it's 833-288-0973. Not only your chance to talk to Captain Jake, but also your chance to get to go fishing on board the Fortune.
I know it's something good right there. And Quinn calling from Blossom Valley wants his chance to. Good morning, Quinn.
What's up, Quinn?
The main reason would be is because a lot of the boats are leaving again early in the morning. You know, like Jake was saying earlier on his reverse overnight trip, they're scheduled to come in at 8 o'clock, but we give them 4-hour lead time. So if he does come in at 10 o'clock, but a lot of the other guys that are running 1.5 and 2-day trips, or the 2 and 3-day trip, they come in at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and they're leaving again at 10 a.m. So they don't have a lot of lead time on that stuff. And some of it does have to do with processing for the guys that do have same-day service. If you got 6 or 7, 8, 9 boats coming in the morning, and you got a ton of people doing same-day service, if you're coming in at 10, 11 o'clock, you can't accommodate all those. So it's a give and take on some of the stuff. But like on the reverse overnights, he does have 4 or 5 hours between those return times and departure times. So he does have that opportunity to fish till 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock, depending on how far the fish are. You know, if the fish are 30 miles, I mean, he could fish almost all night, you know, and the same with the guys that are on longer trips. But if that fish is 60 or 70 miles, they do have to get the boat back in, get the passengers off, the new passengers on, fuel dock, oil changes, restock the boat. So they do need some lead time to get the boat turned around and stuff like that. But that's the main reason, is just the lead time to get the older passengers off, to get the new passengers on and stuff like that.
Yeah, plenty of time to get the boat turned around,
Yeah.
so it's in the level of professionalism that you're accustomed to.
Correct.
Got it. All right. Well, hey, appreciate that very much. Had another good text. Says, good morning, guys. Great show. Love hearing from local captains like Jake. Jake, my question: when you're fishing at night with your speed jigging rods, do you like to fish with the true jigging style with lots of lifts and drops while you're pumping and winding the jig, or is it all about getting down fast and getting bites on the fall? Also, how do you deal with adverse conditions like wind and current? That's from Daniel in Santa Barbara.
So I like to drop it down, and then come up jigging, but because you can come up just as fast as winding when you're jigging, like the speed jigging.
Yeah.
So drop it down to 350. Usually 90% of the time the fish are at 240 feet.
That's the spot. That's where they like to live.
Every once in a while they're deeper, so that's why I like to go a little deeper. You want to make sure you go through the fish and then come back up through them as well. But I'd say a good 80% of the time,
that's good.
You're on the fall.
Okay.
And I've gotten bit all ways. I've gotten bit winding up as fast as I can. I've gotten bit speed jigging. Speed jigging seems to work a little bit better on the way up.
And when you say speed jigging, you're turning the handle fast, and then also like listening some like quick pumps or jerks on the rod while you're turning.
I do it every turn. Like on the bottom turn, I go up with my left hand, and then down with the turn, and then up with my left hand. Like every other turn is a jerk.
Yep.
So it's like you're bringing the jig up, but at the same time you're letting it fall an inch or two, or several inches. It's getting a little dance and a little
getting out to the side a little bit.
On the butterfly jigging system, really. I mean, it's that scenario that comes from Asia, Japan, and Shimano brought it to the U.S. like 20 plus years ago. I mean, but it's picking up.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you had talked about the importance of having your jig falling and how true free fall, free spool, that kind of thing is, when he had mentioned, how do you deal with adverse conditions? So what do you do when it's windy or there's a lot of current in terms of scope? Is it
you go up in jig size?
Okay.
Get a heavier jig. That's typically the rule of thumb, is the heavier the wind, the heavier the jig.
Okay.
But
the lighter the jig.
Yeah.
Because you never want to be surfing your jig. We call it surfing.
Okay.
Once you get scoped out, you have no clue where you're at. That's when I tell the people you got to wind it all the way up and drop it back down. I know it's a lot of work, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
You want to catch a fish or not?
And it is uncanny how many bites come when the jig is true vertical, straight up and down versus scoped out. They just don't seem to bite them when they're scoped out. I mean, it's the rarity.
Drag as well. Line drag. Straight up and down, even when it's falling, actually really working how it's supposed to work.
And I'd imagine you don't want to start with the heaviest jig, right? Like the lighter the jig and the better the fall, the better you're going to get bit. Like by starting out with a heavier jig, even knowing that it's too heavy, your bites won't come as. I mean, I'm just guessing. I'm asking you, right? Like that.
Typically, it works like that. I mean, the big jigs fall and flutter the same as they would a small jig. Like the rip rollers in every size, I feel like they all work the same in a way. But it comes down to the wind factor, You want that jig to fall a little faster, get down to them when you actually stop before it gets scoped out. You need that heavier jig to do that.
I'm sure you've seen all ways. How about knowing, you mentioned how important it was knowing where you're at, knowing that you're at that 300 feet. Like you've I'm sure seen everything: Sharpie marks, spectra marks, line bumps, colored spectra. What's the ticket in your eyes in terms of a guy managing, knowing his depth? What do you like on the reel?
So what I like to do is I make a mark at 200 feet with 2 marks, and then 300 feet will be 3 marks, and you want them spaced out a good 8-9 inches. That way, when it's flying through your rod, you can actually count how many marks are going out of the line, And then all the way from 200 to 400 feet is what I mark.
Perfect. Okay.
That's a great
Usually
system.
with an acrylic, you can get those big acrylic markers.
Like paint
That-
pencil or
yeah,
paint
the
pen type thing.
Those
Okay.
seem to work the best, but you really got to let it dry.
That's a great tip. Yeah, because you don't want that.
Bind it on wet. Then you all of a sudden your whole spool.
You know, everything's marked.
Right.
Yeah, colors everywhere.
Yeah.
Rick, for somebody getting into this, I mean, Jake mentioned 2 different sizes. Like, what do you see in the shop as far, like somebody listening and wanting to get a lighter and a little bit heavier? Like, what would be the 2?
I think Jake's the better person to answer
Yeah.
that, but maybe you can back me up. I think in general, first jig to buy is a 300-gram jig of your choice.
Like an all around.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. That catches most things most of the time. An SK, a rip roller, a Nomad, a West Coast jiggers, a whatever. You name it, a 300-gram would be the first thing I would get if I was kind of put my arsenal together. The second thing for me would be some form of eddy bomb. You know, a quick, fast sinking something else. The third one I would add would just be a big knife jig, whether it be a 400 or a 500 gram. And if you're a guy that's been a few years and you've already got an arsenal of those kind of things, and you've already bought your jigs and you have them and you're going again this year, they're expensive. But for me, I would add one of those tungsten heavy jigs.
Because you're carrying the weight, but yet in a smaller profile.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake will, Jake is who should answer this, not the guy
That's
selling
not
tackle,
yeah,
the guy
yeah.
that fishes with him. Because I'm like, I say it all the time. I'm like super cautious. Like, I almost don't know how to handle that when you're selling them at the tackle store. Like, they're expensive, flat out. There's nothing other to say. Like, those 300-gram tungsten jigs, by the time you're done putting hooks and leaders on them, you're over $100. And I like it. I just feel like it's my job to be very responsible and not. I always say the same thing. You do not need to fish $100 lure to catch a bluefin. No. You can catch one with a sinker and hooks on it, So I never try to tell a guy, like, you have to have this thing. I don't want my guys ever selling a lure to somebody that's that expensive. With all that said, dude, they work so good. They just sink so fast, and they're small, and they're easy for those fish to eat. And it, like a 40-pounder eats them great, and they end up in the back of their throat, and you hook them really good. But they're heavy, and they still pull line off of a reel. Just awesome. I think they fish so good, and I really do think they're worth the money. But you just have to be so cautious in how you offer that to somebody. Like, I never want a gentleman that's fishing from out of town, that's not going with us all the time, to feel pressured into buying $100 lure. So you just have to be very tactful how you explain, its effectiveness. Is it effective? Absolutely.
And there's a place for it.
Yeah. Is it worth it? Probably. Yeah. But man, it's a case-by-case thing.
These things, the jigs do go bye-bye. So
they do.
Something you want to expect to lose, You're not like going to the casino, You never know what's going to happen. You might win a bunch, you might lose some,
That's it. I love them. I mean, do I think they're worth $100? I do. But man, I'd be very cautious about it. Like, if a guy's never been before, the last thing I would ever do is, you need to get a handful of these jigs. It's just not the case. You can do it with a torpedo sinker.
But if you're at the lines in the water or more, and you've got a leg up, I mean, I'd spend the extra $50 to do it.
I know one of the guys that works in the tackle store went fishing with Jake earlier this week, and he had two fish on a 300-gram tungsten jig when it was scratchy fishing. Like, they just
got it done.
They work great. Yeah. But again, like, that's my whole thing. Like, I get so cautious because I never want to feel like I'm overselling something to a guy. It's expensive.
To get into it. I mean, Jake, with a 300 in the 500, like,
yeah, I'd go 3 and a 450, 500-gram jig, just like that. Like Rick said, perfect. 300 grams, about the sweet spot there.
Yeah.
And talk to your captain and crew. I remember there was a time last season when Jake and his crew were coming up and getting Colt snipers. The fish were up shallow, and they wanted something small, and some of those things catch you by surprise. And, we were used to selling big jigs, and him and all his guys were up buying Colt snipers, 120 and 100. Like, what's going on? Like, that's the thing. If those guys are coming up and pulling money out of their wallets to buy jigs like that, like that's the one.
You can fish those at night too. Like those 250 Colt snipers, 250-gram Colt snipers. Those work great at night as well.
Just a lot of it. Like Jake was saying,
profile.
Seems like more common than not that fish is down deep, but there are times when it's not. And sometimes if that fish is up relatively shallow and you're fishing a 500-gram jig, you just blow through it too fast.
Mm-hmm. That's great information.
It's fun.
It really is.
I like
Sure.
I like that stuff. Now, well, speaking of good info, we got the man standing by with the best info. Find out what's going on the water, and it's time for that fishdope.com report, Cory.
It's brought to us by Fisherman's Processing in San Diego, where you get your premier processing experience. Check out the easier online system to book your processing for your long range trips. And with more team members, Fisherman's Processing stays far ahead of the rest. They have more same day capacity and the finest customer service. Stop by the location in Old Town on Taylor Street, or you can check them out at fishermansprocessing.com and make your reservations today. And stoked to have Yusuf Husseini on hold there, the Angler's Realtor. Good morning, Yusuf.
What's up, Yusuf? You're doing great, buddy. Just riding out a little weather here, talking about good fishing last week, and hopefully getting a whole lot more of it here coming up. That's so rad. Jeez.
Right?
Dude, we'll take that. Halibut and sea bass up and down the coast, and good local fishing here in San Diego with the local yellow starting to happen, and bluefin down below. We'll take that just fine, man. Well, speaking of good news and things moving, how about the housing market? You always kind of keep us up to date on what's going on. How have things changed here in the last week or so? That's what I love it, man. Appreciate it very much as always, Joseph. If somebody wants to keep in touch with you, everything that's going on with the Anglers Realtor, get yourself an eval for your home to know where you stand. What's all the good stuff? How do we find you? Awesome. Great job as always, Joseph. Appreciate it. Thanks for keeping us up to date, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week. You too, buddy. Appreciate that very much. Again, hey, just a quick reminder for those that are just joining us, audio from callers and the commercials only available on the app and on the fan today. So if you're joining us on YouTube or on Facebook Live, as so many people do, and we sure appreciate you taking the show in that way, audio will only be available that way. So you can put the audio up on the TV and kick the fan on the radio, or kick off the Let's Talk Hookup app and listen that way, but watch from the stream.
I think they might have missed the fish reports and been wondering why we're so quiet, right? Or, like Rick said, you always get it on the Let's Talk Hookup app and just having a great time. And that report was brought to us by Norse Lithium, the ultimate choice for marine adventures. Norse delivers unmatched starting, trolling, and electronics power. Norse batteries are packed with cutting-edge technology. Upgrade your marine power today. Set up your system at norselithium.com, where you can go see the trolling motor doctor in LA right there.
How it works, man. Hey, phones are packed up. If you want to get your chance to get through, talk to Jake and your chance to win a fishing trip. 833-288-0973 is how you do it. In the meantime, the phone lines are packed. We're going to jump back into the text. It says, hey, guys, I saw you have several of the reverse overnights coming up. Wondering if you could give us a little bit of rundown on how you like to set up your nighttime jigs, Jake. Do you like a heavy bite leader? Do you like hooks at the top of the bottom? Do you like treble hooks versus single hooks? What is your favorite style of setting up your night jigs? That's from Mike in San Juan Capistrano.
Hey, Mike. So I typically you always have to have a bite leader, no matter what. Have a bite leader, unless you want to lose that $50, $100 jig like we were talking about.
And what size? What do you like for that? Heavy.
200.
Okay.
Yeah. I usually like 200.
Perfect.
That's about enough, 200 on the bite leader. And then I usually never have hooks on both sides of the jig. Always have hooks either on the top or the bottom. I typically like the bottom because they eat it when it's falling, and that way the hooks are kind of towards the center of the jig as it's sinking.
Yeah.
That's
a good tip.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And why do you not like on both sides of the jig?
It's very dangerous when you do get a fish on the deck. And then also, like with those longer jigs, that top hook will snag the fish in the side. And next thing you know, you're bringing the fish in sideways instead of by the mouth. It ends up being a 40-pounder takes an hour to bring in, because you're pulling it in sideways and backwards. And
it's one of those things that if it's happened to you,
yeah,
you know exactly.
And I'm sure for you as an operator, it can be a numbers and time and minutes thing. I mean, if you're short stopping and you get onto a school and you hook 2 or 3 and you hook 2 or 3 and you hook 2 or 3, and that's how you're making your night. Mm-hmm. If a fish that should be 15 or 20 minutes long takes an hour, which, I mean, that's very, you take a 60-pounder and you put a hook in his mouth and another one in his pec fin and try to wind him in sideways. And a guy's worried about not horsing too hard because it's his big fish and all those things. And, you lose 40 minutes of time. That could be 2 stops. And those 2 stops could equate to X number that could be your night. It's you gotta get in and get it done. Yeah. Carl, another thing I wanted to mention, and thank you very much for the text, Mike. We were talking about line and line marking. One thing that, big hats off, that when we talked about it a little yesterday too, is the quality of rental tackle that you guys provide at Fisherman's Landing. And this bluefin era really changed how rental tackle was. In the old days, it was always adequate and it was always fine to go catch a fish. And then all of a sudden we found ourselves in this cycle of fishing where you could go on an overnight trip on the Fortune and be looking at a potential 200-pound. You'd be looking at a cow on an overnight trip, a reverse overnight tonight. Jake could easily go get a good school and have a 200-pounder. I mean, that's all within range. And so rental gear had to change from just being good enough to, well, good enough isn't good enough anymore. Yeah. And I know you guys made a very serious investment in CalStar rods, Talica reels, and this whole thing was just about the Mark Spectra. And I know that you guys went all that route too and used, depth indicated Spectra. It's really high end stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely try to listen to the captains and the passengers and like the feedback and stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously 3 years ago or so, like we need something better to for our guys that are not experienced, can't tell what the difference between 100 feet and 300 feet is. And so we switched all out white Spectra. All the heavy outfits have now meter line by Power Pro, changes color every 100 feet. So when Jake says, "Hey, the fish are 300 feet," let 3 colors go down or a little more, so you get through the bite zone and you can work that jig or whatever. The guy that's never been fishing before, only been fishing once or twice, knows exactly where their jig is and can feel confidence that my jig is in the bite zone. I know where my jig is. I know I have a chance of getting bit.
Right, because if Jake tells you they're at 40 fathom, man, you got to be able to get
You
there.
have to know
there.
where your jig is at all times. If you think I'm at 100 feet, but you're really at 400 feet or vice versa or whatever, and the fish are somewhere else,
You're out of the game.
you're out of the game.
Period.
Might be the most important part of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's you have to know where you're at. And it doesn't matter how expensive your tungsten jig is. If you're dangling it at 100 feet and all the fish are at 300, or what happens very easily too is, a guy will think, okay, I'm probably down there, and it's 3 times too far down. Like you're thinking you got to get down to 300 feet, and you're not realizing how fast you can get there. And a guy's hanging his jig and trying to jig up, and he's at 600 feet and below everything. And knowing where you're at is critical.
Correct.
And every rental piece of gear that is fit for that style of fishing, has that, Power Pro offshore depth changing line.
Yeah, and if you go out there and you lose a jig and you lose 100 feet of Spectra or whatever, that reel comes in, gets new Spectra on it. I mean, it's all hollow core, so we can spice it, but most likely that all that line's coming off the reel, putting brand new line on it. So
hundreds of dollars worth, man. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
but you can't not. It's how it has to be done.
Fisherman's Landing, hop on the Fortune. He just spent $500, $600, and then go out there and hook a fish of a lifetime, and the line to fail or whatever. It
just isn't an option.
It's not an option. These guys are spending their hard-earned money, and might be their first time. If they go out there and they're into this rod, I just spent $90 on it, hooks a 150-pound fish, lose it because something breaks. We lost that customer forever, or they're going to go somewhere else.
But that's why you have it the way you have it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we're getting right back. You're listening to Southern California Sport Fishing Voice. More from Carl, Fisherman's Landing, and Jake from the Fortune. When we return on Let's Talk Kickoff. 97.3 The Fan, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup, and having so much fun in the studio. I'm learning a lot from you, Jake, the Fortune, and having Carl from Fisherman's Landing in studio. And dude, we're giving away an overnight trip in the Fortune, which is super cool. Thank you, Jake. And the lucky caller or texter that wins that at the end of the show, we're going to have Jake flip this coin right there.
Prize coin.
Right, exactly. And you can upgrade that, do whatever you want on any open party trip available through Fisherman's Landing on the Fortune.
Yep.
Super cool, Jake. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pumped. We're
Yeah.
pumped to go fishing with you. Well, hey, the phone lines are packed up. If you want to get your shot, still plenty of time to get you through. 833-288-0973. Jeff is standing by to take your phone calls. We got lots of great texts coming through. I know Corey's got one on deck as well. I was going to read this one, and it says, Captain Jake, do you ever have charters or charter groups that fill partially and then backfill with open party customers? Is there ever an opportunity to get on one of these trips, and how do we do so?
Every once in a while there's one of those, but no, I wouldn't say very often at all. For the most part, the charters are the charters.
Mm-hmm.
Unless if a guy contacts me and he needs to fill some more spots to get the price down or whatever for his charter group. That's about the only time it ever happened.
And again, that's the beauty of chartering the Fortune, is most of your groups are those little bit more intimate, little bit lighter loads where it's a lot easier to fill, 10 spots than it is to fill 40 spots.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do want to come out, we got a bunch of open party trips. Just feel free to hop on one of those with 5 or 6 of your buddies, and there you go.
That's
Like
it.
your own
That's
little
it.
mini trip,
Yeah.
right?
You talked about these Friday departure 2 days that you have coming up, and all of them are kind of that way, where they all have several guys on them and just need a couple. What's an average amount? I know it kind of fluctuates with fuel and things like that, but what's an average kind of minimum load that it takes to get your 2-day open parties going?
I'd say about 8.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jeez,
8
that's
people.
Right?
Can you imagine that? So yeah, if the trip's already got a few guys on it, you get 4 or 5 buds together, like that trip's going, and it damn near is your own private charter.
Yeah.
And having 8 or 9 guys on the boat's a 65-foot boat, very comfortable. 8 guys, 10 guys.
Big.
You have all the room in the world. You might just be. It's like fishing the XL with 20 or 30 guys in there. It's just you have so much room, very little tangles. You guys can work together really well and stuff like that. So that's the nice thing about running with a light load or 8 or 10 guys on a boat like that.
Your boat has a history of good bluefin fishing. Even before bluefin was in vogue, the Fortune has always been one of those bluefin killers. And I don't know if it's the hull like Carl was talking about, or just that, you're just another guy in the lineup of great operators that have been with that boat. But it's just got a lot of great things going for it. It holds a ton of bait. I know that was an addition that was done to the boat in recent times, and your fish care is awesome. We haven't really talked much about that, and that's a question that's come up in several texts. What's kind of the rundown on how you guys handle the fish? Maybe give us like the rundown when fish comes up to color. How do you guys take over, and what do you do with the fish when they come aboard?
So we gill and gut everything that comes on the boat's pretty much gill and gutted always.
That's just your Royal Star background.
Yeah, that's it.
Yellowtail, tuna, it doesn't matter.
No, not so much. It depends how the fishing
None of
goes.
the yellow.
Yeah, not so much yellowtail. So,
But all in the tuna.
yeah, all the tuna, every tuna. It doesn't matter if it's 5 pounds or 200 pounds. We're gill and gutting.
That's awesome, man.
That a good rinse too. You got to rinse them out really good, and then they go straight in our RSW that we keep pretty cold, 29, 30 degrees.
When you say a good rinse, is that the inside? Is it the outside? Is it both? And why? What is that?
Flush out of the thing as
Okay.
well. So like you bleed it, let it pump the blood out for a couple minutes, and then you give it a good rinse for a few minutes with the hose.
And just
really flush the blood out.
That goes down that belly cavity and let everything blow out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you learn from one, right?
Yeah. And then when they do cut our fish at the processor, they've said it's some of the best quality fish coming off my style of boat.
What else
How
do
good
you
does
need to
that
know?
feel?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's
all
awesome.
day,
Good for you. How do you best bleed a bluefin when it comes on the boat? What do you like to do?
If they're small enough, I like to pop, not cut a gill. Well, we cut a gill as well, but I like to pop from where the heart is up to the bottom, and it'll.
Like you kind of grab hold of the gill rakers, is that it?
No, like inside the membrane.
Got it.
Pop that and pull up, and it.
And you
it
do
breaks
that.
it breaks every gill raker.
Okay. Do you do that just with your hand, with a knife, with a pair of shears?
You
How's
do
that done?
with your hand?
Okay.
But I'll the big ones I'll do it with a knife.
Okay. And then you're disconnecting the main line. So
Yeah, that's
heart's
the main
pumping and
line.
getting everything out of that fish.
It's the way you just cut 2 gills.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of graphic, right? But it's the way it's going to be done.
Yeah, and it's the harvest, It's
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah. I mean, I don't care if I'm keeping a bass or a halibut, a yellowtail, or a tuna. I do that or
Yeah.
with it. I mean,
yeah, if you're gonna do it, you do it right. And that's the right way to do it.
I just love the fact, Jake, that you learn from the best. And learning fish care and
That was a big thing over there too. Is just you always got to have the quality fish. That's what we're all out there to do, is get that quality product home to you guys.
yeah, I mean, for all of us in this room and most of the passengers, it's a harvest. It's you're going out to harvest.
It's
If you
great
go buy
that
that bluefin at the store too, you're paying way more than a trip price would be.
Totally.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, when you step into Point Loma Seafoods and get your squid sandwich, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
go enjoy your nice lunch. Or I love going down there, man. And
That quality is worth paying for, and
just look at the showcase.
Totally.
And as sporting as we can't put a price tag on it, right? But you can put
you can draw a conclusion pretty quick. Yeah.
quality of how the fish handling has come in the last 10, 15 years when we were all kids.
it's huge.
Fish might have got bled and
Yeah.
stuck in the burlap sack
Maybe.
for 4, 5, 6 hours or whatever. Now everything is bled, gutted, and straight into the fish hold. I mean, it's super rare to see fish sitting on the deck for more than 30 minutes, depending on how good the fishing is. But to see the progression of from the burlap sacks to taking your fish home, and it's just like you never think about like cutting that up and eating it raw and stuff. It was always grill it or make tuna salad out of it or sandwiches. Now it's like, dude, you're getting the best fish you can ask for.
The best.
The best. Yeah.
We've talked a lot about it lately, especially with what our full day fleet has been doing, both the Liberty at a Fisherman's Landing and the Bell and the San Diego, and like what a difference fish handling has done for bonita. I mean, it was a fish that was like, you bring it home, maybe it sits in a gunny sack and turns to mush all day, to just like, this has become people's favorite thing. And, you have one of those things that's properly taken care of, and then go home and make a sashimi spread. Like it is true grade A. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's as good as anything you put on the plate.
The only reason, Rick, you don't see it at Point Loma Seafoods, it's a commercially harvested fish, right? But the only reason you don't see it at Point Loma Seafoods or in any other high grade market, it does not have a shelf life.
Yeah.
Like it's got
Pretty well.
3 days, and when you look at Big Eye, or you look at Yellowfin or any of those other tunas, I mean, they're starting to get perfect at 3 days.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Great. That's a great point.
Yeah,
totally.
That bonito that you're harvesting, that 8 to 10, and like the 18 pounder you weighed in.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was that. Yeah,
That's
that's a today and tomorrow fit. San Diego wrote a great little thing about it,
Okay.
and they're enjoying your bonita. It's like it's a today and tomorrow, sushi, poke bowl fish. The following day, it's a grill and make some of the best tuna sandwich you've ever had, and that's about it. That's the shelf life of it.
it truly is the best tuna fish salad sandwich material you'll ever have.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
I dig it, man. I'm in. Put me in, Coach.
Yeah.
Cory, let's jump back in the phone.
Let's do it. Let's do it live from Irvine. Thanks. Good morning.
What's up, Ryan?
To go back to following their line, hanging everybody up. That's when you end up in those big shit shows that you can't get control of, and that's when you end up losing too many fish.
Is the mistake of not following more in the bait fishing part? Is it more when you have a fish attached? Is it following your jig when it's sinking? Where do you see the
I see it
disconnect?
mostly when fish are attached.
Okay.
They get
tunnel vision.
and they don't see what's going on around everybody. You gotta look around and know your surroundings, communicate with each other, and all that stuff. It really helps. Just a couple words really help.
Yeah. and knowing where you're at and anticipating what that fish is doing,
Yeah.
and also realizing that a little bit of angle in your line,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. Yes, that's a huge thing. Like, it's a little, and if a 40-pound tuna is going one direction, you need to go that direction. You can't like, I'll drag him back this way. It doesn't work like that. When they got their mind going one direction, that's going to be a thing. You don't get to just hang out and.
But that's the widespread problem when I was long range fishing and everything. Is like it's always about that. It's not about getting the bites. It's not about what hook, what line you're using. It's about when you get a fish on, can you get it to the boat, or are you gonna create a giant catastrophe trying to do that?
That's so well put. And I'd imagine
great.
in open party trips, you have 20 people that are of different regions of the country, right? They come from everywhere, and they all meet up and are part of a team. But things can happen, right? But when you've got 20 people that are from a charter group, I mean, you got Jeff over here, knuckling Tom, like, come on, what are you doing? Like, I'd imagine in the end that probably works out a little bit better.
It's one of the reasons the Fortune is so successful is because they do have those smaller groups.
Yeah.
Jake has a really good background. His crew is really good. And it's just easier to get 15 guys working together than it is getting 50 guys to work. It just is. And it's one of the many reasons the Fortune seems to be so successful.
Very well put.
Yeah, I dig it. Hey, well, we had another great text come through. Fire this guy back up. Says, good morning, guys. Jake, do you do any trolling while you're driving around? I feel like I see less and less trolling happening on sports boats in the recent years. If you do, is it feathers? Is it swimming plugs? What's the best deal? Good luck on this season from Sean in Blossom Valley.
All right, Sean. We do some trolling, but not as much bluefin fishing, just because the fact that they don't bite it, and we're stopping so many times consistently. Like you see a breezer and it pops up 150 yards from the boat, you need to react to it like quick,
and not be stopped by
and then half the time the guys that have been on the troll that are supposed to wind the troll rods in don't. And then the crew's back there when they should be throwing bait, they're winding in the troll rod, so everybody doesn't get stuck in the troll rod. It comes down to that thing. But like later in the season when we're yellowfin fishing, of course we're trolling. If there's albacore around, of course we'd be trolling.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right. Like that
for the bluefin fishing, the trolling's not feasible enough to do it all the time. If you want to put your troll rod out, go ahead, by all means. We're not gonna tell you no.
All they ask is if you put your troll rod out,
you wind it in.
That's all they ask.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty simple, but that doesn't always happen, right?
It's not happening.
And how many times have we seen that double skipjack troll stop turn into Rick's old enough? I mean, the big eye or an stop of 100 fish. You know what I mean? That was not caught on the subject. Yeah, definitely good times for sure.
The thing is, you guys are so good at positioning the entire boat where you want it to be, and you don't want to be,
rods will definitely get in the way of it.
Yeah. One jig strike can be a good thing, but not necessarily if you're trying to get the whole boat over it and get baits put on it.
Albacore, yellowfin on the troll.
You like your clicker go off. I'm not gonna lie, that is a fun part of it, especially when that yellowfin got. We watched that big fish happen last year, that unbelievable yellowfin bite. Maybe one of the best in our history of sport fishing for just fish being that big and that consistent for that many days. It was so cool. And
so much fun.
I wanted that fish to be in that 40-mile zone so bad. It just flirted with it, but it never really did. Like, you had to be down there a ways. You had to be on one of those 2 and 3 day trips. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, you had to be on a 2.5, 3 day trip.
And did you guys get in a little bit of that action? Oh my God.
You hear Sanden? Do you see possibly coming back up this year? Or
I think that fish came from Guadalupe, honestly, because nobody's going to Guadalupe, and I'm sure that place is just absolutely.
So this car was just on an 8 day. It is May or is April.
Okay.
And they had really good yellowfin fishing on that 40 to 80 pound yellowfin in May.
It's probably the
same great fish. I would not be shocked if that fish moved.
And
the fish on the ridge is a little smaller than that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this time of year it's yellowtail down on the ridge. There's yellowfin already down there. I'm hoping, and like that fishing down there was so much fun last year.
Oh my goodness.
It needs to get up here, and people would be stoked.
You can have a fortune for 40 to 80 pound yellowfins biting skip jigs and poppers. It's so rad.
That's great.
Oh, man.
Maybe the best table fare.
Oh my god, everything about that was cool. Well, let's try to sneak another one in there real quick, Corey. Hey, Hills.
So, so I was on the Apollo when Jody owned it. I ran the Apollo when Jody owned it. Started right after Jody bought the boat, and was there almost to the end. So that was
For tenure.
yeah, that was about the time I was on the Apollo, and then big yellowfin definitely 100% hands down fight harder than big bluefin.
Period.
Yeah, period. They got just look at the tail structure alone. A big yellowfin's tail is almost twice as big as a bluefin's tail.
It's a loaded question.
And different, and that
Yeah.
that in no means that a big bluefin doesn't fight hard. They do for sure, and they can be real unpredictable at color. They like you get a big yellowfin that's finished off. It's just a big flat pancake circle, and until you can corkscrew them up and put a gaff in them. A bluefin will switch directions and switch back, and they're head shaking SOBs that drive you crazy. But there's no comparing. No comparing a big one to a big one. That doesn't mean those bluefins don't fight hard, and there's not ones that kick everybody's butt and their rod gets passed around from everybody and they're super tough. But man, I'm with you. There's no doubt. Not between the two of them.
Perfectly.
Man, they drive you crazy. That like, especially the way that we fish so often with a lot more spectra, so our jig sinks better and a short piece of fluoro and there's not a lot of stretch, and those things, they just flare their gill plates and shake their head, and they drive me crazy.
So fired up.
But I like it.
Jake, and we're going to go right back and let's talk about 97.3 The Fan, YouTube and Facebook Live. All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. We're gonna have Jake flip the coin.
Hey,
Flip it
just
on
gonna
the
find
deck.
out who's going fishing on the Fortune.
Today that happens to be Jay. Jay in San Diego. Congratulations.
Jay, you are stoked going fishing with Captain Jake. Well, man, if somebody wants to get in on what's going on right now, like you say, we got just today's worth of weather to get by us, supposed to be done this afternoon, and then we've got a really nice week of weather shaping up. Jake, if somebody wants to do one of these reverse overnights that you got going on, or I still think the best deal in town, you talked about those 2-day those 2-day Friday departure trips. How do we keep in touch with what's going on with Fortune?
Yeah, just get on the Fisherman's Landing website, and our whole schedule for the whole year actually is up there right now already. With those 2-day trips, that's ample time to go out there and figure out where everything's at, stay on them in the daytime, also do some yellowtail kelp fishing, keep looking around, and then you get that next night as well. So
That's it.
Heck with that, I want to charter the boat.
Yeah.
Take my own group.
And we call Fisherman's Landing to get that done.
Yeah, exactly. And then also those reverse overnights, if we can keep them going, we'll keep them going for a few more weeks here.
I love it. Hey, we'll appreciate it, guys. Great job. We'll look forward to hearing more. We'll look forward to having you next week and next Saturday. Captain Ryan Boston of the San Diego. Next Sunday, Bob, who's from Costa. Going to be a couple of great shows. Appreciate you listening. We'll talk to you next week on the Let's Talk Hookup app, Facebook and YouTube Live, and 97.3 The Fan.